welcome to Tea Garden Bakery. I hope you enjoy the sneak peek into the day and the life of what is also called the Huff family. Today is Wednesday, and this is a typical Wednesday for the most part. Honey Bunny's working in the garden, and I'll show you that in a little bit. And yesterday we had our Azure Standard pickup order. Our order delivered yesterday, so we had to go pick that up, and we'll be going through that order as well and giving you some ideas of the grains that I use and helping you see the visual of what fresh milled flour is all about. And we'll even talk about some of the health benefits versus buying store-bought flour or any type of flour that has to be modified to make it shelf stable, but we'll get back to that. So the schedule for today is I'm going to make hamburgers. Well, Honey Bunny's going to grill some hamburgers. No, I know I don't eat meat, but Honey Bunny eats meat, so he will be making him some hamburgers, but I will be making us some delicious homemade hamburger buns. Oh, can't go wrong with hamburger buns, homemade hamburger buns at that. And we buy our meat from a local grower. It is all grass-fed. It is all grass-fed meat, and we buy from a local cat farmer. She sells at Long Beach, I believe, at the Long Beach Market, and I think it's Stonington. I can't pronounce it correctly, but I know you can find her at Long Beach. She has great meat, and it's all grass-fed. So if you're going to go healthy, you got to just bite the bullet and go healthy, not only with your bread, but with the other things that you're putting in your body as well. Staying away from processed foods, staying away from sugars that are unhealthy for you. Most of them are all unhealthy for you, but if you're going to have sugars, which we do, all of us do, go for the healthier versions like honey or raw sugar. And we'll go over a few of those things too, because some of those things are what I got in my Azure order yesterday. So we're going to also render my tallow. I bought some tallow from the same farmer that I buy my meat from, and now I'm rendering it down, and we're going to go for the second rendering today, so I'll be doing that, and you'll get a sneak peek of that too. And we're going to feed sourdough. I've got several of these that we're going to feed, and here's another bigger one. This is desperate need of feeding. It hasn't been fed in 2 days, and I just wish, I wished you could just smell the gloriousness of how fresh milled flour sourdough smells. It is incredible. I so wish that I knew a way to turn it into perfume, because I wear it all the time. It really smells that florally, incredibleness. And I know that it's a lot easier to work with as well. So after feeding that, then we're going to make another comfrey salve that has become quite popular. Comfrey is an incredible herb. It is an herb that was used before there were doctors, since the beginning of time, or not there long after that. But comfrey is also called bone knitter. And what it does is you grow it, and it's also healthy for your ground. You can grow it everywhere. Chop and drop, and let it just feed your ground, because it's so healthy for your ground. You cannot drink it as a tea, because it can become toxic to your liver if you ingest it as a tea. But it's really not made for a tea, because what it does is it's a pain reliever. It is, especially if you have arthritis, it kind of feeds your bones. Now, it won't stop arthritis, and it won't stop the deterioration of osteoporosis, but it will slow it down. And studies show, now I'm not a doctor and I can't back that up scientifically, but studies and research that I have done, studies have shown that it is, and we're talking about studies that are done in the medical realm and studies that are done on college level realms. You can put it on your hands, and it will just instantly take the pain away. I use it for my fibromyalgia. As most of you know, that I I have a pretty bad case of fibromyalgia, so I will put it on that. My feet at the end of the day when I'm, you know, been on my feet all day. But it's just a great pain reliever. It helps with the pain, and it's just 2 simple ingredients that are all natural, and your main ingredient being your comfrey herb. And if you're interested in more about comfrey herb, I suggest that you do some research. Google it. It's COMFREY. Do some research on it, because I think you will just be amazed at all the benefits you will find comfrey does, how it helps the bones and how it helps fight inflammation, and just how wonderful it really is on pain. So we will be working on that today too. So I have a full day, because tomorrow I have to get ready for baking on Friday, so I'll do minor prep tomorrow. So today is really my last day to get the things done before the market that don't require baking. So without further ado, let's get started. What we're going to do right now is we are going to make some hamburger buns for so the first thing I'm going to do with my hamburger buns is I'm going to get my yeast started. I have found that it's best to bloom my yeast before I work with it and the flour. That just seems to always give me the best results. So I'm going to be doing that right now, and then we're going to mill the flour, because as you know, one of my claims is that I do not mill the flour until just before baking, so that way it is as fresh as it can be, and you're getting all the vitamins and minerals that I can possibly give you when milling fresh milled flour. So let's go ahead and get started. So right now I have a hot water kettle, and I love this thing. I use this thing all day long, just about, either by drinking tea. On Thursdays and Fridays, it's for baking, especially if I'm baking for Diamond Head Farmers Market on Friday, and then on Friday baking for Past Market on Saturdays. So this thing gets used quite a bit, and during the week it's used for mostly teas, because I drink a lot of herbal teas. And so this is my baby right here, and while it's warming up, I will be getting some things ready for blooming my yeast. Now, one thing I do is when I have to work with oil and honey, especially honey, I will always oil the inside of the container that I'm doing it with. And most of you know is that I use honey instead of sugar. I don't use sugar. If I can avoid sugar, I'm going to avoid sugar and use honey. And in most cases I can, and there are, of course, when you have the cookies and stuff like that, that you just need that good old raw sugar. So what I always do is I put my oil first before my honey. Then I'll pour my honey in there. And see, it just comes right on out. There's a little residual in there, but I'm just bring that on out. And I set that down. Okay, so while I am waiting for my yeast to bloom, I'm going to go ahead and mill the flour. I want to show you what I am milling. This is, hopefully we can see that, this is kamut. Can you see how big and beautiful that grain is? This is an ancient grain, and oh my gosh, it gives such a buttery flavor. The flavor of kamut is incredible. And then we have the hard red. We need the wheat that is going to provide the fiber, and that's going to be this little bitty grain right here. I mean, not the fiber, but that will provide the protein to make the bread rise. So my blend is going to be kamut and a hard red, a spring hard red. And I don't know that there's a difference in taste between the spring and the winter. I haven't noticed it, but then again, there may be. So I put it, my setting on bread flour, and actually I put it in between pastry and bread flour. So I'm going to turn it on. And here goes. And now I want you to see this incredible, healthy flour. Nothing processed, nothing bleached, nothing added. 100% beautiful flour in its healthiest form. This is the way that the grain was intended for us to look at this gorgeous bloom. I love that. So I'm going to put that in here. Make sure I scrape out all that yummy, delicious yeast. I don't know about you guys, but I sure love the way yeast smells. And I especially love the way sourdough smells, especially when you open it and you get that sweet, sweet, sweet aroma. All right, and now I'm going to put my egg. I know this may seem a little backwards, but when working with an anchor shroom, you have to put in your liquid first. So we got that shelf stable. And just remember that any type of flour, whether it says whole wheat, no wheat, or whatever, if it has a shelf stable life, it has been processed in some way. Because fresh milled flour is only good for 3 to 4 days, maybe a week at best. But at the end of the week, you've lost all your nutrients, and then it goes rancid because the bran and the fiber contain oils that cause the flour to go rancid. So there is no shelf life for fresh milled flour, hence the word fresh milled. So, and then I put my salt, and I'm going to just let that beat just a little bit. And now I'm going to add my flour. I don't know if that's a good picture, if you can see what's going on, but we'll need that for a few minutes, probably about 5 minutes, and then we'll check it. And in the meantime, I'm going to watch it, because working with fresh milled flour is so different than working with with non-fresh milled flour, because the structure is so different. That you have to watch your dough and let your dough tell you what it needs. You don't really go by a specific amount of flour or anything like that. You have to kind of watch your dough and let your dough tell you what it needs. And that's what I'm doing right now, is just watching the dough. And you always don't want to add flour, especially with fresh milk flour, because that will cause you to have a dense bread. So you just trust the process. Let it beat for about 5 minutes and just trust the process, because it usually comes together. And there it goes. The process is coming together. All I did was add about 2 more tablespoons of flour and let the process go, and there we go. It's doing what it's supposed to do. Okay, so the timer just went off, and it looks like it's pretty good. Looks like it's cleaning off the sides. It can probably go another few seconds, but let's check and see what it hasn't completely cleaned the bowl, but let's see if it's, oh yeah, look at that. We got some nice stretchy dough. It's still breaking, so I may let it go another minute. Again, I don't want to rush it. Okay, so the mixer went off again after a minute or so. Let's see what we have now. Oh yeah, I've got some good dough here. So we've got some, it's pulling because it's heavy, but it is right where it needs to be. I can get that beautiful window pane. So we're good to go with the dough. We're going to go ahead and just let it set inside the bowl. Okay, so as you can tell, it's there. Now, it's absolutely not needed. It's my choice. I just like to pour a little bit of oil, just a little bit. It's just like when you set it in a bowl, just kind of rub my hands together with it and then just knead it together in the bowl. In case it didn't clean the bowl, I'll scrape that off. So we get all this wonderful dough inside of this. And I'm still new to the Ankerstrom, and I'm sure once I get better acquainted with my new friend, that the scraping will become less and less. So now what we'll do is just let this sit and do its first little rise. And you can tell that it's good dough because look, see, it doesn't try to, it stays. So you know that's some good dough right there. So we're going to just cover it, keep it in the bowl, and probably let it sit there for about 20-30 minutes, however long it takes to rise. Look how beautiful. It doubled in size within probably 15 minutes. So now it's time to make some hamburger buns. All right, so now it's time to shape them and weigh them. And so what I'll do is I will weigh them out. Look how beautiful and soft and incredible this dough is. Oh, I just wish you could just feel it and just, so wonderful. All right, so we're gonna weigh them out. And then we're going to shape it. And the shaping takes a little practice, but I kind of just make a tight little, and then I'm pushing up because I don't want a hollow center, because I want that to be the inside of my burger bun, but I also want my tight top so I have a beautiful top on my hamburger bun. And basically that's about it. You just spread them apart so that way they will rise. push it in. And if your hands get sticky, and sometimes they will, you can either wet them or put a little bit of oil on your hands. Sometimes I have oil right here and I'll just tap my hand in it. And that, my friends, is hamburger buns. And I know you're thinking, Sherry, for 2 people, that's a lot of hamburger buns. And I'll say, yes, it is. That's a lot of hamburger buns. But here's the great part. These will freeze up to 6 months. So for 6 months, I have our hamburgers made. All I got to do is just go to the freezer, pull them out, and heat them up like a regular hamburger bun, and they're good to go. So for 6 months, I'm covered with hamburger buns that are healthy, nutritious, and delicious. So while I'm waiting for the hamburger buns to rise, I'm going to go ahead and prepare Honey Bunny's hamburger patty. And I just put salt, pepper, and garlic, and top it with just a little of this Worcestershire sauce, or however you want to say it. And then I just do a little bitty dab of spicy brown mustard. But shh, we can't tell Honey Bunny. We won't tell Honey Bunny about the mustard. We'll just put a little bit in there, like that right there, and then mix it up. Now, sometimes I will put breadcrumbs if I have them. I don't have them today, but I like to put breadcrumbs in there because it helps hold them together without putting an egg in there. So I don't put an egg in it. I do sometimes. It just depends on how much hamburger meat I'm working with. If I'm working with several hamburgers, I will sometimes put an egg. But for this one, not so much, because this one doesn't need a whole egg. So, and what I like to do is keep the center pressed down just a bit, so that way the edges don't cook. I mean, the edges cook and then the center doesn't. So I kind of just make sure that it's down, and then it'll shrink up. I know it looks big, but it will shrink up. But I do like to keep that center flat. All right, and then we'll cover that and move on to my hamburger patty. Okay, so from yesterday's leftovers, we had, we're growing purple hulls and or field peas and limewood beans in our garden. And so this is what we had left over from yesterday. So this is going to be my hamburger patty. I normally make a hummus, but since we have these leftover peas, and I really hate to waste them because they're really delicious and they're really fresh right out of the garden, I am going to make me a patty out of these. And it's not really going to be a patty. That's kind of misleading. I am going to make more like a spread, because the bulk of my burger will be vegetables. It'll be cucumbers and cherry tomatoes and bell peppers. So that will be the bulk of mine, but this will kind of hold it in place. So I'm more or less making a spreadable, just pureeing these down and making it spreadable. They are really so flavorful. I just tasted them, so I won't be adding any more seasonings to them, because they really are just so flavorful. And I'm seriously thinking I'm not going to add the sesame seed oil because the flavor is so great. But I think what I am going to add is a little bit of olive oil. Just a tad bit. I'm just going to spray. I don't want a lot. Just enough to have a little bit of an oil in there. And probably just a little bit more garlic, because you know your hummus is garlic. And then I'll just put a little bit more of that. And then we will just puree it. And that is it. And yes, I will not, this will remain cold because my cucumbers and my tomatoes are fresh out of the garden. So they'll be warm. And it's kind of runny. I should have drained it just a little bit. This is a little bit more runnier than I want my hummus, but I think it'll work. It will work. Okay, so Honey Bunny likes his cucumbers with nothing on them, just straight out of the garden, nothing on them. Not this gal. This gal has to have some flavor on hers, and I like to cut mine up a little bit smaller, especially when they're going on my sandwich, because if they're in slices, they will tend to slide off with the little puree that I made. So I just like to cut them up in small pieces. And instead of fries, we are going to do Japanese eggplant. I will air fry that, and oh, it comes out so crispy and delicious. And so instead of doing potatoes, which are my favorite, don't get me wrong, I will eat a potato all day long. I am a potato girl. I love potatoes. But because I do eat a lot of potatoes, sometimes I need to opt for a healthier version of deliciousness. And today it will be Japanese eggplant. Okay, so now I'm going to cut up my beautiful cherry tomatoes that my husband grew in his garden this year. And he just picked these within the hour. And although they're fresh, they're delicious, but I like them better when they've sat for a day after picking. I just think they have a better taste to me. So, but these are fresh out of the garden, so we will make do because I've eaten the other ones. I tell you, I live off this salad almost daily. I have this little cucumber, olive oil, cucumber, cherry tomato, and fresh bell peppers. I eat this salad every day, and it's so satisfying and so delicious. All right, and let me get the bell pepper. I wanted to show you, these are our bell peppers. They came out so beautiful this year. We both love bell peppers, so we can eat them. I can just eat them by themselves. I love them, and I think Honey Bunny is the same way. They're a great cool snack to cool you off, and I like them just like this with the tomatoes, the fresh cucumbers, and the cherry tomatoes. All right, and this is what will go on the inside of my hamburger, well, my burger. I won't eat the meat, but this will be my patty, so to speak, mixed in with the butter beans and the field peas, that little puree that I made. And then I will just let these marinate in some delicious olive oil. And then when these come out of the oven, we will have our hamburgers. And there we go. These delicious hamburger buns are ready, and they're so, now of course I'll cut them, but you can see how delicious they are going to be. I wish you could smell them. They smell so good. I love that everything bagel. So now, while Honey Bunny is downstairs grilling his hamburger, I am going to finish off making our fried Japanese eggplant instead of fries. And now my air fryer is warming up, and I am going to prepare these for air fry. So what I like to do is put a little bit, I will use sunflower oil or olive oil, but today I'm going to use olive oil. Sunflower oil gives them like a real buttery flavor. It has a high frying point. So does olive oil, but olive oil gives the Japanese eggplant just a great flavor. So just going to put a little bit of garlic. I get this garlic from Azure Standards. It's organic garlic granules, and I get it by the 1 pound bag, and I just love it. It is so incredible, and it does taste different than store-bought. It just has, to me, it has a stronger garlic taste. But I use the store-bought too. I'll use McCormick's. But I do like the Azure Standards garlic. And I find it's cheaper to buy a 1 pound bag and then just fill up my shaker as needed. And then I'm going to toss this. I think I'm going to put a little bit more olive oil. All right, maybe a lot of olive oil. You can see how it just soaks it up. And then I am going to toss in here. Spread it out. And then stick it in the air fryer probably for about 8 to 10 minutes. And watch it come out nice and crispy. I'll see you at lunchtime. And here it is, my little bit of protein, which is the beans from yesterday's garden, and then topped with the salad we made earlier. And I will just eat that salad as it is, topped with the little Gouda cheese, smoked Gouda. Can't go wrong with smoked Gouda. And there we have it. A little messy, but it'll be delicious. And you can hear our dogs in the background because they can smell the food and know that it's dinner time. And here is the air fried Japanese eggplant.